Captain Junho Kim stared at the main screen of Mars Station 1. The red dot blinked again and again. It was not supposed to be there. "Yuna, check this reading again," he said. "It might be an error." Science Officer Yuna Park moved to her station. Her fingers tapped quickly on the screen. She shook her head. "Not an error, Captain. Something is out there. Something big." Junho looked around the control room. The station orbited high above Mars, watching deep space for any threats to Earth. For 10 years, they had seen nothing but empty space and distant stars. Until now. "How far away is it?" he asked. "Too far to be sure," Yuna said. "But it's moving fast. Faster than anything we've ever seen." Security Chief Daeyeon Cho looked up from his station. "Could it be a comet? An asteroid?" "No," Yuna said. "It's changing direction. Natural objects don't do that in space." The room went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. Something with intelligence was coming toward our solar system. "Ji-yun," Junho called to his communications specialist. "Send a message to whatever's out there. Standard greeting protocol." Ji-yun Kang nodded. She had trained for this moment all her life, but never expected it to happen. First contact. She sent the message out into space, a simple greeting in all Earth languages. "Message sent," she said. "Now we wait." They waited for 3 days. The object kept coming closer. Soon they could see it was not one thing, but many. A fleet of ships, moving together. "They're not answering our messages," Jian said on the 3rd day. "I've tried everything." "Keep trying," Juno ordered. "They must be getting them." He turned to Daeyeon. "What's the status of our defenses?" Daeyeon's face was grim. "Earth has been alerted. Defense systems are on high alert. But if these visitors are hostile..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Suddenly, Jian's screen lit up. "Captain, we're getting something." Everyone gathered around her station. Strange symbols filled the screen. They moved and changed, making patterns no one understood. "Is it a response to our message?" Shino asked. "I think so," Jian said. "The computer is trying to translate it." Minutes passed as the computer worked. Then words began to appear on the screen. The message was short. "We are the Valkyrie. Prepare for our arrival. Resistance is unnecessary." Junho read it twice. "That doesn't sound friendly." "Captain," Yuna called from her station. "The fleet has accelerated. At their current speed, they'll reach Earth in 2 weeks. Send everything we have to Earth Command," Junho ordered. "And keep sending messages to the Valkyrie. Try to learn more about them." For the next day, they sent message after message. Questions about who the Valkyrie were, where they came from, what they wanted. But no more answers came. Then, just as they were about to give up, a new transmission arrived. This time, it was a video. The screen showed a tall figure. It looked almost human, but wrong in small ways. Its skin shined like metal and changed colors as it moved. It had 4 arms instead of 2. Its eyes were too large, too dark. "People of Earth," the figure said in perfect English, "we bring you greetings. We are the Valkyrie, travelers from beyond your stars. We come in peace and friendship." The message continued with promises of technology and knowledge to share. The Valkyrie said they only wanted to meet humans and learn about Earth. But as Junho listened, he felt something was wrong. The words were friendly, but the voice was cold. The eyes never blinked. When the message ended, no one spoke for a long moment. "Send this to Earth immediately," Junho finally said. "And tell them." He paused, thinking of the right words. "Tell them to be ready for anything." As Mars Station 1 sent the warning to Earth, the Valkyrie fleet continued forward. Whatever they truly wanted, humanity would soon find out. The sky over Busan filled with dark shades. The Valkyrie ships had arrived without warning, appearing suddenly above major cities around the world. People filled the streets, looking up with fear and wonder. Chunho Kim stood with other military officers behind a line of world leaders. 2 weeks had passed since he sent his warning from Mars. Now he was on Earth, watching as the largest alien ship lowered itself toward Busan Harbor. "This is history," said Sun Woo-choi, the UN Secretary General. The first official meeting between humans and aliens. The ship was huge and smooth, with no sharp edges. It looked like a giant black egg floating in the air. It made no sound as it landed gently on the water's surface. For several minutes, nothing happened. The crowd grew quiet. Then, a door opened in the side of the ship. Light poured out, bright and white. 4 tall figures stepped out. The Valkyrie were just as Chunho had seen in the video message. They stood nearly 7 feet tall. Their skin shifted colors like oil on water. Each had 4 long arms that moved too smoothly to be natural. "They're beautiful," someone in the crowd whispered. The lead Valkyrie stepped forward. Its face had large, dark eyes with no whites. Its mouth was small, with thin lips that barely moved when it spoke. "People of Earth," it said in perfect Korean, "I am called Silver Voice in your language. We bring greetings and friendship from the stars." Secretary General Choi stepped forward to welcome the visitors. As they exchanged formal greetings, Chunho noticed movement at the ship's door. Something else was coming out. The crowd gasped as they saw them. Behind the Valkyrie came creatures that made everyone step back. They looked like enormous cats, but wrong in many ways. Each had 6 legs, not 4. Their bodies were covered in thick, armored scales that gleamed like metal. Their eyes glowed yellow in the sunlight. Each one was the size of a small car. "And these," Silver Voice said, gesturing to the creatures, "are our bonded companions, our protectors and friends." One of the beasts stepped forward. It moved with silent grace despite its huge size. Its mouth opened slightly, showing teeth like knives. "They are called many names," Silver Voice continued. "You may call them war lions, as other worlds have done." Chunho watched the war lions carefully. They didn't act like animals. They seemed to study the humans, looking at faces, at weapons, at the buildings around them. Their eyes showed intelligence. Dr. Minji Han stood near Chunho. She was Korea's top xenobiologist, an expert on possible alien life. She leaned closer to him and whispered, "Those aren't just animals." "What do you mean?" Chunho asked quietly. "Look at their eyes, the way they watch us. They're not curious like animals would be. They're calculating." The ceremony continued. The Valkyrie presented gifts, small crystal cubes that they claimed could clean all pollution from water. They offered to share technology that would solve Earth's energy problems. Everyone smiled and clapped. But Chunho kept watching the war lions. They never blinked. Their yellow eyes seemed to look through people, not at them. After the main ceremony, the visitors were taken to meet scientists. Chunho followed them to Busan Science Center. There he found Minji again, studying the aliens from a distance. "The Valkyrie seemed friendly enough," she said quietly. "But those war lions, I've been watching them. The way they move, the way they stand near important people." "What about them?" Chunho asked. "They're positioning themselves, near exits, near security, near communication equipment." Minji shook her head. "It's not random. It's strategic." Inside the science center, one of the war lions turned its head and looked directly at them. Its yellow eyes seemed to glow brighter for a moment. Then it made a sound, low and rumbling. "Did you hear that?" Minji whispered. Chunho nodded. "I think it heard us." From across the room, through all this noise, that shouldn't be possible. But they both knew it was true. The war lion was still staring at them. "We need to be careful," Chunho said. "Very careful." A month had passed since the Valkyrie arrived. Their ships now floated above every major city on Earth. The aliens said they came in peace, and many people believed them. Chunho walked through the busy streets of Busan. He had been assigned as the military liaison to the Valkyrie. It was his job to watch them, to learn their ways. What he saw worried him more each day. The Valkyrie had given many gifts to Earth: small crystal machines that cleaned water and air, energy boxes that powered whole cities without pollution, medicine that cured diseases humans had fought for centuries. But Juno noticed something strange. Every Valkyrie always had at least one war lion with them. Always. The aliens called them bonded companions and said they could not be separated. He turned a corner and saw his old friend, Dr. Hyunjin Kang. They had grown up on the same street as children. Now she was a top-brain doctor at Busan Medical Center. "Hyunjin," he called. "It's good to see you." She smiled, but her eyes looked tired. "Junho, I need to talk to you." "Not here. Come to my lab tonight." Later that night, Junho entered the hospital where Hyunjin worked. She took him to her private lab and locked the door. "Look at these," she said. She showed him pictures of human brains on her computer screen. "These are brain scans of people who work closely with the Valkyrie technology." Junho looked at the colorful images. "What am I looking for?" "See these blue areas?" Hyunjin pointed. "These show unusual activity. I've never seen patterns like this before in human brains." She showed him more scans. All had the same strange blue areas. "What does it mean?" Junho asked. "I think." Hyunjin paused. "I think the Valkyrie technology is changing how these people think. Their behavior is different too. They agree with everything the aliens say. They defend them against any questions." Junho felt a chill run down his back. "Are you saying the gifts are some kind of mind control?" "I don't know yet, but something isn't right." The next day, Junho called Yunha Park. After Mars Station, she had been assigned to study the alien technology. "Yunha, I need your help," he said when they met in a quiet park. "Have you found anything strange about the Valkyrie gifts?" Yunha looked around to make sure no one was listening. "Yes, all their devices emit a signal we can't detect with normal equipment. I only found it by accident." "What kind of signal?" "It's weak, but it's everywhere now. The water cleaners, the energy boxes, even the medical tools. They all send data somewhere." Junho thought about the brain scans Hyunjin had shown him. Could these signals affect human brains? Maybe. "I need more time to study them." Over the next week, Junho noticed more war lions in the city. They were at government buildings, TV stations, power plants, and military bases, always watching, always listening. He met with Hyunjin and Yunha at a small cafe. They sat in a corner far from other people. "The war lions are at every important place now," he said. "And look at this." He showed them photos on his tablet. Pictures of world leaders with Valkyrie. In every photo, there was at least one war lion nearby. "I checked old news videos too," he added. "A month ago, leaders asked hard questions about the Valkyrie. Now they just agree with everything the aliens say." Hyunjin nodded, like their minds have been changed. "We need to know more about these war lions," Junho said. "Daehyun and Jaehyun are coming to Busan tomorrow. I think we should form a small team to investigate." As they talked, a woman walked by their table. Around her neck was a small crystal pendant, a gift from the Valkyrie. She smiled at them, but her eyes looked empty. That night, Junho couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the war lions. Why were they called that? War lions. The name itself was a warning. His phone rang. It was Yuna. "Turn on your TV," she said. "Channel 9. Junho turned it on. The news showed Silver Voice announcing a new program. Schools would now teach children about Valkyrie culture. Every child would get a special gift from the visitors. Behind Silver Voice stood 3 war lions. Their yellow eyes seemed to stare right through the TV screen. "I found something in their signal," Yunho whispered over the phone. "It's not coming from the Valkyrie. It's coming from the war lions. We need proof," Junho said to his team. They met in an old basement under Daehyun's apartment building. No alien technology was allowed inside. "Daehyun, Jian, Yuna, and Hyunjin sat around a small table with Junho. They had turned off their phones and checked for listening devices. Yuna and I have a plan, Jian said. We think we can hack into the Valkyrie communications. Their ships send signals to each other all the time. How? Junho asked. Their technology is far ahead of ours. Yuna smiled. Not as far as they think. I've been studying the signals from their devices. They use a pattern I recognize. Can you break into it without them knowing? Daehyun asked. We think so, Jian replied, but we'll need special equipment. For 3 days, they gathered what they needed. Junho got military computers that were not connected to any network. Daehyun found old radio parts that could be changed to pick up the alien signals. On the 4th day, they were ready. In the basement room, Yuna and Jaehyun worked at their computers while the others watched. I'm in, Yuna finally said. I can see their messages. Strange symbols filled the screen. They moved and changed, much like the first message Junho had seen on Mars Station. Can you translate it? Junho asked. Jaehyun nodded. The computer is working on it now. It might take. She stopped as words began to appear on the screen. Everyone leaned closer to read. Status update. Human conditioning at 68% completion. Rixar Command expects full compliance within 14 days. Valkyrie units performing as expected. Rixar? Hyunjin asked. Who are the Rixar? Yuna tapped more keys. Let me search their database. More messages appeared. The team read in shocked silence as the truth became clear. The War Lions, Junho finally said. The War Lions are the Rixar. They're the real aliens. And the Valkyrie? Daehyun asked. Created, Yuna said, pointing to the screen. Look here, it says Valkyrie biological constructs require renewal cycle every 28 days. They made them. The Valkyrie are just puppets. That's why they're always together, Hyunjin realized. The War Lions control the Valkyrie with their minds. Junho felt sick as he read more. The Rixar were conquerors. They had taken 17 other worlds using the same plan. First, they appeared as friends, using the Valkyrie to seem peaceful. They gave gifts that slowly changed the minds of the people. Then, when resistance was impossible, they took complete control. We have to tell everyone, Daehyun said. We can't, Jian replied. Look at this. They control all major communication networks now, and many world leaders are already under their influence. We need more information, Junho decided. We need to confront one of them directly. 2 days later, Junho arranged a private meeting with a Valkyrie and its War Lion. He said he had security concerns to discuss. They met in a small room at the military base. The Valkyrie called itself Blue Stream. Its War Lion had dark scales that gleamed like metal. Its yellow eyes watched everything. Thank you for meeting with me, Junho said. I have some questions about your companions. Blue Stream smiled. Of course. The bond between Valkyrie and War Lion is sacred to us. Junho nodded to Yuna. She pressed a button on her phone. A high-pitched sound filled the room. It was based on the signals they had discovered in the Valkyrie communications. The War Lion's eyes suddenly glowed brighter. It looked directly at Yuna, then at Junho. Turn that off, it said in a deep, rough voice. Everyone in the room froze. The Valkyrie had not spoken. The War Lion had. So it's true, Junho said. The War Lion stood taller. You are more clever than the others, Shunho Kim. What are you? Junho asked. We are the Rixar, the War Lion said. The true power of our fleet. The Valkyrie are our creation, our tools. The Valkyrie stood still now, like a doll. What do you want with Earth? Shunho demanded. The same thing we wanted with 17 other worlds, the Rixar replied. Your planet, your resources, your people to serve us. We'll fight you, Junho said. You will lose, the Rixar answered. We have done this many times before. Your minds are already changing. Your leaders already obey. You have 48 hours before we begin destroying your cities, one by one. Why tell me this now? Junho asked. Because it is already too late, the Rixar said. It turned and left the room. The Valkyrie followed like a robot. Junho looked at his friends. Their faces showed the same fear he felt. We need a weapon, he said. Something they don't expect. We have less than 2 days, Junho said. His team sat in Hyunjin's lab, far from any Rixar or their technology. We need to find a way to fight back. How? Daehyun asked. They control our leaders. They're watching our military. And their ships are too powerful for our weapons. Hyunjin had been quiet, thinking. Now she stood up and walked to a locked cabinet in the corner of her lab. She entered a code, and the door opened. Inside was a strange helmet with wires coming out of it. This might help us, she said. What is it? Yuma asked. A project I worked on 3 years ago, Hyunjin explained. It was designed to treat soldiers with PTSD by redirecting fear responses in the brain. How would that help against aliens? Jo-yeon asked. The Rixar are telepathic, right? Hyunjin said. They can read and control our minds. But what if this connection works both ways? What if they can also receive our thoughts? Junho began to understand. You think we can send our thoughts to them? Not just any thoughts, Hyunjin said. Our fears, our nightmares. She put the helmet on a table. This device was considered a failure because it was too powerful. Instead of gently helping patients face their fears, it amplified those fears, made them too intense. I don't understand, Daehyun said. How does making people more afraid help anyone? It doesn't help humans, Hyunjin said. But the Rixar, they evolved as apex predators. They've never been prey. They've never needed to feel fear. The room was quiet as everyone thought about this. I'll try it, Daehyun finally said. I've seen war. I have nightmares almost every night. Hyunjin looked concerned. It will be dangerous for you. Your mind will be open, exposed. I can handle it, Daehyun said firmly. I was in the Psychological Operations Division before Mars Station. I'm trained for mental stress. For the next day, they worked to improve Hyunjin's device. Yuna built a system that could boost the signal. Jaehyun found a way to direct it towards specific targets. Humans are different from other species the Rixar have conquered, Hyunjin explained as they worked. Our brains evolved to imagine dangers that aren't even real. We can scare ourselves with our own thoughts. Is that why horror movies exist? Jaehyun asked with a small smile. Exactly, Hyunjin nodded. What other animal would pay money to be frightened? Only humans enjoy fear in a safe setting. We seek it out. By the next morning, they were ready to test their idea. The helmet now had more wires. It connected to a small box Yuma had built. The box glowed with soft blue light. This will boost your brain signals, Hyunjin told Daehyun. Whatever you think about, whatever you fear, will be sent out like a radio wave. Daehyun sat in a chair. He looked calm, but his hands gripped the armrests tightly. Focus on your worst memories, Hyunjin said as she put the helmet on him. The things that wake you up at night. Daehyun closed his eyes. His knuckles turned white as he held the chair. We'll be right here, Junho said. If anything goes wrong, we'll stop. How will we know if it works? Jo-yeon asked. Yuna pointed to a small screen on her device. If the Rixar receive his thoughts, we should see a reaction in their telepathic network, a disruption. Hyunjin looked at Daehyun. Ready? Ready, he said. His voice was steady now. Let's see if aliens can feel fear too. Hyunjin flipped a switch. The helmet hummed to life. Daehyun's face tensed. Sweat formed on his forehead as he focused on his worst memories and deepest fears. For a minute, nothing happened. Then Yunha's screen began to flash. Something's happening. she said. There's a disruption in their network. Suddenly, they heard a crash from outside. Chunho ran to the window. In the street below, a war lion had collapsed. It was shaking on the ground, its legs thrashing. The Valkyrie beside it stood frozen, like a puppet with cut strings. It works, Chunho whispered. It actually works. He turned back to his team, hope in his eyes for the first time in days. The Rixar think they're the galaxy's top predators, he said, but they've never faced human nightmares before. We need to hit them where it hurts, Juno said. The team gathered in Kunjin's lab, planning their attack. Only 12 hours remained before the Rixar's deadline. Their main command center is in the Busan Tower, Yunha said, pointing to a map. That's where most war lions stay when not out in the city. It's also heavily guarded, Daehyun warned. Since our test yesterday, they've doubled security. Chunho nodded. They know something happened, but they don't know what. We have surprise on our side. Hyunjin had built 4 more helmets. They were smaller than the first one, easier to hide under hats or hoods, each connected to a small box that could fit in a pocket. These won't be as strong as the lab model, she said, but if we get close enough, they'll work. They moved through the city as evening fell. They avoided main streets where Rixar patrols moved. Jian had found old maintenance tunnels that led under Busan Tower. The Rixar don't know about these, she said as they crawled through a narrow passage. They're not on any digital maps. When they reached the tower basement, Junho checked his watch. It's midnight. Security should be lighter now. They climbed up through a service shaft. When they reached the main floor, they heard voices ahead. A Valkyrie was speaking to someone. They waited in silence until it passed. This way, Junho whispered. They moved through dark hallways. Once this had been a tourist attraction with restaurants and shops. Now it was the Rixar's main base on Earth. As they turned a corner, they came face to face with a war lion. It was huge, its yellow eyes glowing in the dark. It made a surprised sound, like a growl mixed with a roar. Now, Chunho shouted. All 5 of them activated their devices at once. They focused on their fears. Chunho thought of being alone in space, drifting forever with no help coming. Yunha imagined being trapped underwater, lungs burning for air. Jian focused on her childhood fear of the dark, of monsters hiding in shadows. Daehyun brought back his war memories, the sounds of battle and dying friends. Kunjin thought of losing her mind, of thoughts slipping away into emptiness. The Rixar made a terrible sound. Its body shook. It tried to back away, but its legs gave out. It fell to the floor, its eyes flickering wildly. It's working, Hyunjin whispered. More sounds came from down the hall. More war lions were coming. The team moved quickly, heading for the main control room. They reached the central room on the tower's highest floor. Inside were 7 Rixar around a large table. Maps of Earth showed on screens around the room. One Rixar looked up as they entered. This one was larger than the others. Its scales were golden, not dark like the others. Humans, it said in that deep, rough voice. How did you get in here? We brought something for you, Junho said. All 5 humans turned their devices to maximum power. They filled their minds with their worst fears. The effect was immediate. The Rixar roared in pain. They fell to the floor, their bodies twisting. Their yellow eyes flashed brightly, then began to dim. How? The golden one asked, its voice weak now. How are you doing this? Chunho stepped closer. You brought war lions, he said. We unleashed nightmares. The golden Rixar's eyes went dark. It lay still on the floor. Yunha moved to the control panel. I'm downloading their data. We need to understand their full plan. As information filled her tablet, her eyes widened. Look at this, she said. The Rixar have conquered 17 worlds, but they've never faced anything like us before. What do you mean? Chunho asked. Their records show that other species they conquered didn't have our kind of fear response. Human brains are different. She looked up. We're the first species they've met that can imagine horrors that don't even exist. Julian worked at another panel. I'm setting up a broadcast. We can send a message to every human device on Earth. Tell everyone how to fight back, Junho said. Everyone with a mind can be a weapon now. As they worked, Hyunjin studied an unconscious Rixar. Their biology is fascinating. They have no natural predators on their home world. They've never needed to feel fear. She looked up. Until now. Suddenly, the building shook. A loud noise came from outside. They're bombing the city, Dahyun said, looking out the window. The ships are attacking. They're desperate, Junho realized. And that means we have a chance. The command ship of the Krelden fleet hung silent in the dark space. Inside, everything had changed. What was once a proud and unified military force now trembled with uncertainty and fear. Jae-hoon watched the monitoring screens, his fingers moving quickly across the neural interface. Each movement sent carefully crafted psychological signals deep into the alien communication networks. The human team had spent months studying the Krelden brain patterns, and now they were using that knowledge like a precise weapon. Commander Wong, a seasoned human strategist, leaned close to Jae-hoon. The neural disruption is working better than we expected, he said quietly. His eyes reflected the flickering data streams showing the gradual breakdown of alien morale. On the Krelden flagship, First Leader Krelak stared at his communication officers with growing anger. Soldiers who once stood straight and proud now looked confused and scared. Some whispered among themselves. Others seemed lost, their eyes unfocused. The nightmare projections were surgical. Each alien received a personalized psychological attack based on their deepest fears and most painful memories. For some, it was the loss of family members. For others, it was past failures or deep personal shames. The human technology didn't just show these memories. It made the Krelden experience them, as if they were happening right now. We are losing control, muttered Sub-Leader Krelix to First Leader Krelax. His voice shook. The soldiers, they are breaking down. Krelax wanted to argue, to show strength, but he felt it too. Waves of doubt and fear crashed through his own mind. Memories he had buried for decades suddenly felt fresh and painful. The human weapon was unlike anything they had ever encountered. In the human control room, Dr. Yuna Kim monitored the psychological impact. Her screen showed detailed brain scans of the Krelden forces. Look, she pointed to Jae-hoon. Their collective neural network is fragmenting. We're not just attacking individuals, we're destroying their entire social structure. The Krelden had come to human space confident in their biological war machines. They had brought genetically engineered creatures that looked like massive lions, designed to inspire terror. But humans had responded with something far more terrifying, a weapon that attacked the mind itself. Entire squadrons of Krelden ships began to drift. Some turned against each other. Communications became garbled with emotional outbursts and confused messages. The tight military discipline that had made the Krelden feared across multiple star systems was crumbling. Jae-hoon felt a moment of sadness mixed with professional satisfaction. This wasn't just a military victory. It was a demonstration of human psychological complexity. The very thing the Krelden had considered a weakness was now their most devastating weapon. Prepare the final projection, Wong commanded. Yuna nodded and began inputting the last set of neural coordinates. This would be the final push that would likely break the Krelden completely. As the neural projectors charged, Jae-hoon thought about how they had reached this moment. Months of careful research, countless ethical debates, technological innovations that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. The Krelden had brought war lions. Humanity had unleashed something far more terrifying. The power to truly understand and manipulate the depths of consciousness. And now, everything was about to change. The massive holographic display flickered with streams of data, casting a blue-white light across the faces of the human command team. Jae-hoon stood at the center, his hands hovering over the neural interface that would deliver the most complex psychological attack in human history. Dr. Yuna Kim checked the final calculations. "Targeting complete," she announced, her voice steady but tight with tension. Around them, the human command center hummed with nervous energy. Months of preparation had led to this single moment. The Krelden leadership was about to face the ultimate psychological weapon, a coordinated nightmare projection that would strike at the very core of their collective consciousness. First Leader Krelak sat in his command chair, already feeling the first tendrils of doubt creeping into his mind. The human attacks had weakened him, broken his certainty. Where once he had been a proud and ruthless military commander, now he felt only confusion and fear. "Initiate final projection," Commander Wong ordered. Jae-hoon's fingers moved with practiced precision. The neural interface came alive, a complex web of psychological algorithms designed to exploit every weakness in the Krelden neural network. The attack was not just a simple projection of fear. It was a carefully crafted psychological assault that would unravel the very fabric of Krelden social structure. Years of research into alien psychology, deep studies of their communication patterns, and advanced neural mapping had prepared this moment. On the Krelden flagship, the first wave hit. Imagine reliving every failure, every moment of shame, every hidden fear, all at once, with the intensity of real experience. The nightmare projection did exactly that. Military leaders saw themselves as children, weak and insignificant. Battlefield heroes witnessed themselves in moments of cowardice. The most loyal soldiers suddenly remembered secret doubts they had buried deep in their minds. Krelax felt it first. Memories flooded his consciousness. He saw himself not as a strong leader, but as a frightened child. His greatest victories turned to dust. His most cherished beliefs crumbled like old paper. "We surrender." The first communication came through, raw and desperate. More messages followed. Ship after ship began broadcasting surrender signals. The tight military formation that had once threatened to destroy human civilization now dissolved into chaos. Yuna watched the brain scans with a mix of scientific fascination and human compassion. "It's working," she whispered to Jae-hoon. "We're breaking them without firing a single traditional weapon." The psychological attack lasted only minutes, but its impact would be remembered for generations. Humanity had found a way to win a war by understanding the enemy's mind better than the enemy understood itself. Commander Wong approached Jae-hoon and Yuna. "Prepare for diplomatic contact," he said. "We need to be ready to stabilize their leadership before complete psychological collapse." Jae-hoon nodded. The weapon they had created was powerful, but it was also dangerous. They needed to show that this was not about destruction, but about preventing further conflict. As the last waves of the neural projection faded, an eerie silence fell over both human and Krelden communication channels. The war was over, not with explosions or massive battles, but with the most complex weapon humanity had ever created, a deep understanding of consciousness itself. The stars outside seemed to pause, witnessing a moment that would change interstellar conflict forever. 6 months after the war, the diplomatic station orbited a neutral planet. Jae-hoon sat across from First Leader Krelax, the tension between them thick and complicated. "We did not understand humans," Krelax said, his voice low and careful. His once proud posture was now broken, a shadow of his former self. Yuna watched from the side of the room, her eyes studying the alien leader. The psychological warfare had changed everything. The Krelden were no longer conquerors. They were survivors trying to understand a war they had completely lost. The treaty was simple but profound. The Krelden would withdraw from all conquered territories. They would pay reparations, but more importantly, they would learn. Humans had offered something unexpected, a chance to understand, not to destroy. Commander Wong had been clear in the initial negotiations. "This is not about punishment," he had said. "This is about preventing future conflicts." The psychological weapon had been both a blessing and a curse. Some human leaders wanted to keep the technology secret. Others argued it should be studied and potentially used to prevent wars across the galaxy. Jaehoon understood the complexity better than most. He had seen the weapon work. He had also seen its potential for damage. "Your people will need time," he told Krellax. "Healing from a psychological attack is not simple." Krellax nodded. The Krell-Din had been a proud warrior race. Now they were learning humility. Their genetic war lions, once symbols of their military might, were being studied, not as weapons, but as potential allies. Yuna stepped forward. "We have something to propose," she said. Her voice was calm, professional. "A joint research program to understand how different species can communicate and resolve conflicts." The proposal was radical. After a war that had nearly destroyed both civilizations, humans were offering cooperation. Not conquest, not revenge, just understanding. Krellax looked surprised. Humans had weapons that could destroy entire civilizations. They had proven their ability to break minds without breaking bodies. And yet, they chose dialogue. Outside the diplomatic station, human and Krell-Din ships moved carefully. The war was over, but trust would take time. "Our researchers will study your neural networks," Jaehoon explained, "not to weapon them, but to understand how different minds work, how we can prevent future conflicts." The first steps were always the hardest. The Krell-Din had come with war lions, massive biological weapons designed to inspire terror. Humans had responded with something far more complex, a weapon of understanding. Yuna looked at the data screens. Brain scans showed the slow healing of the Krell-Din neural networks. The psychological wounds were deep, but not impossible to repair. "We are not so different," Krellax said suddenly. It was the first time he had admitted such a thing. Jaehoon smiled. A small smile, but a real one. The galaxy watched, waiting to see what would happen next. Humanity had shown that the most powerful weapon was not destruction. It was understanding, and that was a lesson far more important than any battle. The stars outside the diplomatic station seemed to shine a little brighter. A new chapter was beginning.